Hi, I'm Mark Hodder from the Fighting Mongooses, and in my 3 minute video, I'm going to reflect on the part of the module that I found most interesting, which was the theory and then the practical experience of working in teams. So, part of the module was about constructing logical arguments, and one of the pitfalls of constructing logical arguments is that you generalize from your specific experience as opposed to looking at sort of a representative sample and then generalizing from that. So, it was interesting in one of the first lectures that we had. We were given a general theory about how teams work and how they should work, and then we were put in a specific team, and then it was interesting to see how the dynamic of the specific team played out against the general theory. So in the Fighting Mongooses, for most of the term, we were working as a group of three because one of the guys was sick for most of the term. So it was interesting to see how in a team of three, there was naturally going to be certain team roles that weren't going to be filled because we were such a small team. It was interesting to see how that played out in inefficiencies and the actual practical experience. So it turned out that we probably didn't have a natural sort of visionary or coordinator as defined by the Belbin team roles, which meant that we spent a huge amount of time um, in meetings, just talking about the general idea when we probably needed somebody sort of who would uh, drive the vision forward and delegate specific roles and make sure the work got done. Um, and what I took from that was that not necessarily anything particular, but just that constructing teams isn't necessarily something that happens naturally. It's something that needs to be thought about. And if I am constructing teams that I hope to in the future, maybe in my own business, somebody else's business, in sport, something like that, towards the goal of producing a product or something like that, that it would be at least useful to think about the general theories of how to construct a team and then look at the types of personalities you have in a team and see whether they're going to work well together or whether there's going to be inefficiencies. And then, just as an aside, it was pretty interesting to see how the different people within the team and also within the general group thought about technology and society. I would have assumed that in a computer science module that everybody was sort of a technological determinist, that technology is wonderful and so on. But it was interesting to see that even people who were devoting their sort of, or at least planning to devote some of their career towards producing or being at least in the technological space, had sort of a different view of how technology interacted with society, and that they were thinking about technology as not necessarily always positive, but as sometimes destructive force. And then that sort of led me actually, interesting enough, to read a good bit of Peter Thiel, who is the co-founder of PayPal and Palantir and invests in technology companies. And it was interesting to see that his ideas, despite being a technology entrepreneur, weren't necessarily as a technological determinist. So he was devoting his whole life to technology, and yet he was constructing reasonably good arguments for the case that technology wasn't always positive, which at least maybe challenged my beliefs, didn't necessarily change them. So they were the two things I took from the module, the two big things at least.